Welcome back. Where have I been? Here. What have I been doing? Not this. There's your catch up. However, look at the new wonderful production that we have going on here. Look. Well, Amsterdam. Red light district, see? Anyway, I'm back. Did you miss me? I hope you did. We're going to be talking about a film today called Skinamarink. Skinamarink is about it's about an hour and 40 minutes long. Goodbye now. No, I suppose I better do something a bit more in depth. Okay, right. So, Skinamarink. I hate that title so much. Skinamarink is from first time director, long time subscriber, Kyle Edward Ball. Okay? And Kyle is a YouTuber, or was a YouTuber, who did some crowdfunding. He got 15 grand together and made this here movie, which Shudder bought and turned it into one of these hyped up viral things, a bit low key Blair Witch style. It's not worth that, but it's still pretty good. And it's instantly gone down as one of those films which people are saying this is terrifying, this is wonderful film making, or this is a joke, this is super boring, nothing happens. And I'm sitting here like this because I think this is wonderful filmmaking and fantastic, and it's incredibly boring and nothing happens. But I'm very much here pushing that way. Essentially, this film's going to alienate a lot of horror fans who are more traditional horror fans who like. The front cover says what David Lynch's Poltergeist might be like. Okay, right. Poltergeist. Toby Hooper directs it. Okay, so we've got the little girl seeing things on the TV there. Yeah, right. So we've got all that going on, but you've got narrative. Okay, people talk about what's going on. We understand the problems and dilemmas. We understand potential resolutions. Let's get in this mystic woman. Tangina comes in. The child has to be hurt. Right, so all that's going on. We know what's going on at all points. This is Poltergeist if you only had it in the weird realm between realms and everything was filmed like this. Yeah, no, that's far too interesting a shot for this film. Something more like that, like horror. And then you just hear effects off screen. Okay, this film is all shot so that you don't see any of the actors apart from a couple of shots where you see them from the side, just literally the side of the face, and a couple of shots on a bed where you just see them on the back of a bed. But for most of it, it's filmed as though the camera's on the floor and you just see a pair of feet walking past, or it's filmed like you just see a corner and you just hear the TV in the background. It's incredibly annoying until you start to get used to the rhythm of the film. And whether or not you are sinking into the Skinamarink world really depends on whether or not you can get used to that stylistic choice, because it is 100% built on that. If you can't get used to the idea of no narrative discussion and these very strange shots, which essentially could be done as stills, just a progression of stills, which I suppose it is, because that's all cinema is stills being shown at fast enough rates so it looks like movement. But these are very slow movements, so it could be done as stills with just voiceover. It could be a slideshow. There's not much money in that for a Shudder though, so they decided to make a movie of it. Essentially, young boy, young girl, parents go missing in the middle of the night, and the doors and windows of the house disappear as well, and there might be a monster in there. That makes it seem a bit more poltergeist. You can see where they're kind of doing that route. It's not. It really isn't. Then the boy and girl never once have a conversation. They never once say, like, what the hell is going on? Where's mum and dad? Where did they go? There's never a big reveal of a monster. It is purely left up for you to fill in the blanks. It's like a fever dream. In a good way. It gives you enough information to get on with, and you very much see it, sometimes literally through the eyes of a 4-year-old boy. And the real test of these kind of films, ultimately, the real test, I feel like I've messed up my mise en scène by doing that camera thing. The real test of these kind of films is, were you scared watching it? If not, it clearly didn't work for you. If you were, then yeah, it did, to a certain extent. I was scared at certain bits. There's a part where the father tells the daughter, look under the bed, because everyone talks like this. Look under the bed. I can't see anything there. Look under the bed, sweetheart. Look under the bed. And then you just hear noises, like a bone crack. And then cut to another thing going on. And then when you look back, the father's vanished, and then the mother's sitting on the other side of the bed, and she says, close your eyes. When you open your eyes again, she's gone. And there's some strange shit going on. This was a trip. Um, it's not really a movie you can spoil, because anybody that tells you they have a real definitive handle on what's going on here is lying. It's intentionally left for you to bring your own fears, your own childhood memories, your own night terrors to it, and fill in those blanks. And to that end, I think it succeeds massively. There's a few chilling lines in it, and the dialogue, as I said, it never goes into conversational speak. There's never, where are our parents? What are we going to do? Don't worry, I'll protect you. Come out, monster. I've seen movies. It never happens. Never happens. They talk just like, I need to pee. That's the end of that scene. Next scene. Let's watch a movie. Next scene. No dialogue. Next scene. I'm going upstairs. So if you wrote every bit of dialogue down, it probably wouldn't be a page. It's really weird. There's no narrative to it whatsoever in terms of dialogue, but if you roll with it, and again, bring something of yourself to it, it does start to make, I don't want to say sense, but it starts to make, oh, I'm about to use a term that I hate to use, oh, God forgive me. It starts to make dream logic. Um, Dream logic, obviously, a massive thing in the works of Dario Argento and the like, right? Usually to cover up massive plot holes and things that don't make sense. But here, it almost works literally because it is a very dreamlike thing going on. And there's no plot holes. It's all taking place in a very heightened reality. And the last 20 minutes are very uneasy, very unnerving, and horrific without being explicit at any point. There's a real menacing tone to this. And when it mentions David Lynch on the cover, the only thing that I can compare it to is the tone wise of Eraserhead. It shares that kind of constant feeling that just something is off. Doesn't share anything in particular with David Lynch's work other than that. And that's quite a Lynchian thing, but apart from that, that's just a nice quote for a box. Can I recommend this? Absolutely not. Not in a million years. Because if you're someone who your favourite horror movies are, I don't know, blockbusters, pretty standard Hollywood fare, then you're probably going to find this to be one of the most boring things you've ever seen in your life. But if you like more art house fare, you might find this to be quite evocative and quite spooky. I did. But at the same time, I fully recognise why an hour and 40 minutes of this is going to leave some people just sitting going, ha. Hadn't happened yet. No. C'est la vie. But I enjoyed it. Nice commentary on it from Kyle himself with the DP Jamie McRae. Um, and they go into the low budget aspect of it, about how a lot of it was filmed diegetically, and that's how a lot of it was recorded, where the sound effects were literally just the sound in the background. So the whirring of a VCR was actually on set. Um, Video players and whatnot. The noise of Lego tipping over was just the noise of Lego tipping over, that kind of thing. But the only thing I don't quite get is why it needs to be done on film with scratches on it, as if it's a grindhouse 1970s thing, because it's set in 1995. That comes up at the start, 1995. So why isn't it done like a home video? Because we all had those big stupid camcorders in 1995. Why isn't it done that style? I guess because that was overused in the found footage era of like 10 years ago when everybody was doing found footage movies, 15 years ago. But this is done on film for no reason whatsoever. But hey, you gotta roll with it, you gotta take your time. But I mean, here's the quote from the Los Angeles Times. A one of a kind film that recreates the sensation of being very young and essentially powerless, unable even to articulate why everything feels so ellipsis wrong. That sums it up perfectly. That really does sum it up. I think that's a wonderful quote from the LA Times. I approve of that paper and I want to subscribe to their newsletter. Um, yeah, that's the only extra on there. I mean, there's strong horror and sustained threat. There isn't really strong horror in this. There's one horrific thing that's described, but the act of the description is more powerful than seeing it. It's one of those kind of films. What you think is happening is probably a lot more powerful than being told. This film doesn't show and doesn't tell. So it won't satisfy anybody who just wants the poltergeist side of the things. It even looks a bit poltergeisty on the cover, doesn't it? It's quite similar cover. Uh, anyway, that's the first video back. I've got another two that I'm probably just going to film back to back, and all of those in the next few days. But it's been nice to be back. I've been practicing on my voice. I thought I'd forgotten how to do this, but then I remembered I was never that good at it in the first place, so it doesn't really matter. Hey, folks, thank you very much. Stay very safe out there, and it's been so long. Love and indeed mercy.